Yachty, Let's Start Here, released January 27th, 2023. This was an album that took the entire internet by storm. Anybody that listened to this album was left mesmerized, polarized, and whether you loved it or hated it, it had an impact. From the start of the track, the Black Seminole, I was not expecting a psychedelic rock alternative album from Lil Yachty, and starting off with the Black Seminole, coming in at a grand 6 minutes and 52 seconds with various changes in the instrumental, various vocals. Lil Yachty keeping it simple on the chorus with the Black Seminole head general, distant connections, a large interval, and even though it isn't like the most mind-blowing verses you'll ever hear, it does sound a bit more concise with the overall name of the track, with the overall theme of being a sex symbol, tracing it back to the Black Seminole, and having a little bit from African ramble with more ammo, and then letting the instrumental take it from here when we get some of that psychedelic sound, some of the synths, some of the guitars in the background. It was mind-boggling to me first listen. Going on from there to the ride with Teezo Touchdown. Yes, loving Teezo Touchdown being, popping up with more artists. I believe it was Roses with the Pigeons and Plains album that Teezo Touchdown was also featured on. And the vocals by Teezo gave it that extra flair, that extra cherry on top. And The Ride being another track that continues this beautiful wave that Lil Yachty has been starting off from the very beginning. And going on to here, Running Out of Time, not to get him confused with Tyler's Running Out of Time. We get to understand that this album, I wouldn't say it's a love album, but does have a theme of Lil Yachty dealing with himself, feeling like he's a sex symbol, dealing with the fact he's running out of time. He says there's a girl, he feels that, what if I told you everything that I want to tell you, all my secrets, would you would accept me more? The fact that us two are together, we're running out of time. Stay up with me. You've been on my mind. We understand that Lil Yachty, he feeling somebody. He's feeling somebody. And I want to be extra and put let's start here is, I want to say his way of saying, let's start here for this new chapter of his life. And some of the relationships that have paved him, that have pushed him to be in the person that he is right now. Pretty, we've seen it blow up for a little bit on TikTok because we're all feeling pretty with it. I don't know if you painted your nails after listening to this song. I didn't, but if you did, I wouldn't blame you because you wanted to feel pretty. His singing is pretty nice, and by pretty nice by Lil Yachty standards, it is a big, I wouldn't say drug-like. I don't know, it has this weird, my ear has this weird earworm for his vocals where it's just his voice ripples in a way that the vibrations, it's catchy enough. And going from there, this was where we get to the middle of the album that to me, I wasn't so big on, going on from The Zone all the way to Drive Me Crazy. The instrumentals do carry it through pretty beautifully, but to me, I was just and I've officially lost vision going towards Say Something. That's whenever we get continues sort of, I want to say, the story elements, especially with Say Something, the instrumentals for some of the drums, some of the guitar riffs, some of the synths, some of the even the minuscule, I want to say glitters in the background that pop in and out, and sort of this ambience that paints an atmosphere in the background. And Say Something, of course, with from the first half to the second half, switching up the narrative, and from Lil Yachty confessing his love, and things don't exactly go great for him. Paint the Sky, Should I Be, a very enjoyable tracks as well. And The Alchemist featuring Fushi. I would like to say, would this technically be the most lyrical? I guess, but I would say the bars that caught me was on probably Because I Am the Alchemist, Learn to Love, I'm Not Like the Tin Man, of course Wizard of Oz, Alchemy, and just various references. I Am Sensei Jones with a Vengeance. It just following that bit of wordplay is pretty dope for him to do, man. It is pretty dope the way it's done melodically, the way it's sort of setting a bit of a tone. I'm sort of seeing the references being done here pretty well. But of course, Fushi on the interlude singing It Feels Good, Don't Mean No Harm is a nice little pillow talk in your ear. And Lil Yachty, of course, finishing this up And whenever we get to the end of the track list, whenever this finally decides to load here, Reach the Sunshine with Daniel Caesar is euphoric, it is entertaining, and overall Lil Yachty's Let's Start Here is beautiful. Album of the year for me so far. An album that feels luscious, that is gleaming with sunshine and sparkles, but it isn't afraid to throw you to the side here and there for some jarring change in the instrumentals, and Lil Yachty's voice being the main instrumental. And one thing I want to credit here is the mixing is done in a way where his vocals at the time could be in the forefront, could be in the background. It could be multiple Lil Yachty vocals on top of one another, which gives a lot of these tracks layers and depth that whenever you do return to, it always feels fresh. It's always adds a bit more replayability. And overall, this album is a solid 9 out of 10 for me. Lil Yachty, Let's Start Here. What are your guys' thoughts on the album? How have you been enjoying it? And do you find this like as your favorite Lil Yachty album? To be real, aside from Lil Boat, that I believe nostalgia holds a lot of value for me, I do find Let's Start Here to be probably his best album.